Hello, my name is Catherine Oviatt. I'm the Supervisor of Literacy and Early Learning Services for Horizon School Division. I want to introduce you to a new friend in early learning who is Usky the Turtle. I've heard him called many things, Asky, but when I've listened to the creators, they call him Usky. So this is Usky. When I first began, my predecessor gave me some very important information on puppeteering with Usky. It's recommended that when you use Usky that you create a personality for him. So you may decide that you have a different voice for him. One thing that she told me is that you really accentuate the vowels with the puppet. So really overemphasize when you're using this puppet. So for example, hello Usky. Hello. How are you? I'm really great, Usky. Hey, I'm really excited about this new program that we have called Help Me Tell My Story. What do you think about it? Well, I think it's very good. That's excellent, Usky. Thank you for visiting us and for showing us how to use this puppet in our classroom. You're welcome. Thank you for all that you do for children. Thank you, Usky. We might be talking to you later. When I first started this webinar, I had this really great idea that I would use Usky as the trainer, but it got to be very, very difficult and kind of laughable. So I probably would save him for my work with children because they're much more forgiving than perhaps an older audience. Usky, in your kit, in your materials, you will have two Usky puppets. This puppet that you have has two noses. These noses are for interaction with the iPad. I've had various feedback about whether or not this actually works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the purpose of the nose puppet. The one without noses is intended to be a puppet that you could perhaps send home with children or allow children to play with in their play centers, in their puppet centers, and he could be much more interactive. Because of an underlying concern that our assessments may have a built-in bias and therefore may not be fair to all children, the Ministry of Saskatchewan took on the task of developing a culturally responsive assessment that would be more holistic in the ways of learning and understanding for students who were historically at risk of success. While the concept of Turtle Island has its roots in First Nation culture, animals who talk are universal in the imagination and culture of all children. Like many adaptations we make for children in need, what works to support one student actually benefits all children. That's the case for this assessment. So rather than thinking of this as a First Nation tool, I would like to think of this as a culturally responsive tool that is supportive of all children. So why Usky? In addition to looking into where our children are at in terms of their pre-literacy skills, the Help Me Tell My Story assessment goes beyond asking a child, what do you know, but ask them, how do you know, and how did you learn, with respect to their oral language acquisition. Some of what we will learn from the data has not yet been discovered. Who are the important and significant students or teachers in a student's life? What sorts of things have the greatest impact for our most vulnerable children? This data will be ours to use to figure out and bring meaning to our work with children. As you begin to implement this assessment, you will find your own important reasons for using it. For the ministry, the compelling why is twofold. First of all, to appropriately and fairly measure all oral language for all children. And the second one is to help us to support the ways of knowing and learning that come from the context in which the child lives, the immediate and extended family, and the community at large who support the child. Ultimately, this information will help us to make sure that the rich opportunities we develop, both in the instruction we provide and in the relationships we have, will support the whole child, his family, and his community. Listen to the perspective of the elders who support this model.
The role of an elder in a child's learning is very important.
Their stories and their experience and what they have to say uh, should be listened to.
When you hear a lot of the old stories from the old people in a setting like this, they listen.
Education is real important, no matter who you are.
Language is the greatest key to opening doors.
With this ASCII project, you have a little animal talking, and it's supposed to be more relatable to a child. A child could learn more from a little animal. Our old ancestors too, that's how they learned. They watched what was in their environment.
Even the shyest kid, the shyest student, talk with them with a puppet and they'll speak back. ASCII is a very good program that's been introduced here to our school, and especially it will be very useful in the homes where the parents can work along with their children.
You're only given a certain amount of time to teach in a classroom, and it's not enough.
It has to start in the home, and unfortunately a lot of the young people now that are parents do not or have a hard time speaking a language, and this is where it needs to be stepped up.
It's the parents and also the grandparents of that family has their role to do so.
Not only in school, but the home life, the community life is the most important part of their life.
It takes a whole community to bring up a child.
My grandchildren are all over the place. After they finish school, that's what I'm proud of it. They started from this school.
See, this is what we're looking forward to. Our young generation is to get them certified to be either a lawyer, doctor, or any kind of a profession.
And with this ASCII project, that should bring out more within the child now to understand, because the teachers, if the teachers are really teaching that program the way it should be taught, then they should notice a difference in the child.
So what do we need to know about this assessment? First of all, there's some history behind it. This assessment was developed with a group of educators in Saskatchewan. It helps teachers paint a more complete picture of oral language development for their children. This assessment is rooted in an FNMI learning perspective and engages parents and elders and community members and supports a fun and collaborative process. The overall mission and mandate of this project was described in 2010 with the notion of developing an innovative and holistic assessment tool that would improve our understanding of success of First Nation and Métis early learners in Saskatchewan. While the original mandate was focused on First Nation, Métis, and Inuit children, the assessment is beneficial and supports all learners. From 2010 to 2013, a working committee developed Help Me Tell My Story, which was comprised of educators from across a set of diverse school divisions, schools, and communities in Saskatchewan, bringing a wide range of expertise, which are listed on this slide. The working committee developed the specific project objectives that would ensure this new approach to assessment would maximize student success. Aren't these the goals that we have for all children? Help Me Tell My Story was developed based on a series of foundational frameworks developed by First Nation Métis Inuit partners across Canada, which describe an FNMI perspective on lifelong learning. Specifically, these frameworks were part of the initiative undertaken by the Canadian Council on Learning and its Aboriginal Learning Knowledge Centre to redefine how success is measured in First Nation, Inuit, and Métis learning. One outcome from the work of the Canadian Council on Learning was the holistic lifelong learning model presented here. Rooting the assessment in these three versions of this model helped to support the primary objective of this project, which is to improve our understanding of success of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit learners. The holistic model has three aspects that need to be understood to provide a complete and holistic picture of a child's oral language learning. First, places of learning. Second, people. And third, the domains. This holistic framework is a more complex way of understanding the holistic model. The holistic framework is built upon 6 connected principles that support the assessment of a student's knowledge and skills throughout their learning process. Moving clockwise around the framework, any assessment developed using the holistic framework would, first, reflect multiple perspectives and places of learning. It would be personalized to be locally and culturally relevant to the children in Saskatchewan. It would be developed in Saskatchewan, by Saskatchewan, and for Saskatchewan. The overall principle of collaboration, not only in the development, but in the implementation, is crucial to the success of this assessment. Furthermore, enhancing parental and broader community involvement is also important, involving caregivers from the beginning to the end of the assessment process. Leveraging technology to provide immediate access to results is also important, and directly linking the results to learning activities focused on evoking change. It is not a tool that is measuring for the sake of measuring. Each question was developed for a reason and will be used to support the intervention in home, school, and within the community. This assessment focuses on language development as the initial indicator of success. We need to understand where children are at with respect to their oral language development and support them in continuing to develop oral language as the foundation for literacy. I'd like you to notice these quotes, which are foundational to this assessment. Firstly, children learn language skills faster during early childhood than at any other stage of life. Language is the greatest predictor of a child's success in school, and babies acquire language within months of being born. By age 5, basic sound system structures and grammar are already mastered. It will be very difficult to change. This concludes part 1 of this webinar. Thank you for your attention. The next sections will be about the doing in terms of this assessment, whereas this is the philosophical foundation for implementing the Help Me Tell My Story assessment. Thank you.